Hello, everyone. My guest for the first episode is going to be Dr. Anas Al-Aoum. Dr. Anas is someone who I've met 8 years ago. He's someone which I've worked alongside him for the past 8 years. He's someone which I consider to be a pro at what he does. And I hope from today's conversation, he's going to bring to the public that despite the fact that he's a pro at his job, despite the fact that he's a busy man, despite the fact that he's a father of three beautiful kids and a loving husband, that it's possible to juggle more than one aspect of life. It's possible to be perfect at what you do and yet also keep the other aspects of your life still running. Because one of the things that I usually hear from the people out there, from the audience, from the public, is that how can we train? How can we take care of ourselves? How can we eat healthy? How can we prioritize our health? And yet also take care of our professional career. And I hope from today's conversation, Dr. Anas can teach us something about how did he do that and how does he still do that. So without further ado, I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
3, 2, 1. Ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Dr. Anas. So I usually start off the conversation by asking the guest who is Dr. Anas.
So I'm a 42-year-old middle-aged man, enjoying life, matured over time. I love the way I am now. I think I live the best time of my life. Besides that, I am a prosthodontist, and that's what I do in life. A father for 3 boys.
Here they are. They're here behind the camera.
A father for 3 boys, husband for a wife, of course, and beautiful wife. And then
yes, he said it. Okay, he said it.
and then I just have some hobbies. That's it.
You have some hobbies. You enjoy life now. You're in a point where you are most happy. Why do you say that? Like, what's different about now compared to Anas before?
I think over time you mature, you become more wise. You're wiser. You understand life better. When you're younger, things you live by the day. Happy, still happy. But now, because I am wiser and because I understand everything around me, I understand where I am in life, in space. So I feel good. I feel good. I'm very content. That's I think it's very important. Is content.
Do you think it always takes this time for someone to feel content? Like, do you think it's like an old younger generation, an old 20, 30 years old kind of person didn't find yet themselves and they need time to feel more content in life? Like, do you think that age is a factor to feel more happy?
No, I don't think so. I think it differs. Every person is different. Yani every person is a collection of experiences. Could be from childhood, from your friendships, from the milestones you have in your life, until you become the person you are. So now age is one factor, but no, age could be a negative factor because we know also there's the physiological part of age, which is when we age, we lose things. We lose recovery, we lose testosterone, we lose growth hormone, we lose ability to handle pressure in a certain way because the body is tired. The engine is not as strong as it used to be.
Yes.
So for some people that drains them. For some people, I know a lot of my friends who they are in my age, 40, but they look like they're 60. And I know some 60-year-olds who look like they're 40. So I think age could be a co-factor for you feeling happy, and it could be a negative factor. It depends on how you take it. It depends on how you consume and utilize this engine that you have, which is your body.
And how do you do that? Like, what's a normal day for you would go like? For you now, you're saying that, like from what I see, you look fit, you look like healthy and in good shape. And as you said, like sometimes like a 40-year-old can look like a 60-year-old and a 60-year-old can look like a 40-year-old. Like, what do you do different?
I think number one is the mental state. It's for me, the important part is feeling content. When you wake up in the morning and if you're not content, if you don't have that feeling of fulfillment, that could be a detrimental factor on you. That doesn't mean, see, there's a fine line between content and fulfillment and ambitions. There's a fine line between them. You could be content with no ambitions. Or not ambitious, or you could be very ambitious but not content. You're always like, there's always a buzz that you're just not happy with the way you are. You want better, and that's maybe what defines greed. So I want to be better, but at the same time, I'm really happy where I am. I enjoy the way I am. I enjoy my family. I enjoy my kids. I enjoy my wife. I enjoy work. I enjoy my team. I enjoy the work I have, my patients. I enjoy my hobbies. I enjoy my body. I enjoy everything where I am now. I'm very happy, and I don't feel that I have things that are missing. Let's put it this way:
like you have something to wake up in the morning for. Like you have something to tell you, okay, now I'm gonna get out of bed.
Sami.
Like now I can get out of bed. Like because a lot of people don't have this like eagerness to wake up in the morning and just go pursue something.
Yeah, no, I never had that. I never had that problem. Never had that. I don't think I have reached the point where I'm depressed. Thank God for this. I don't think I am. I mean, you have ups and downs in your life, but the depression, no, I don't think I felt the depression.
Like, man, nowadays, like
I've felt a lot. I've felt ups and downs, like at the times where, Sami, Habibi, Sami, Baba, you're too loud, right? Cut.
That's
too loud. Okay, cut back.
Yeah, it's okay. We were talking about points of depression, ups and downs in your life.
Yeah, there are times where I felt down. For instance, you will probably understand that because you were at the time where there was a period in time at work where I felt that I was down because there was a time where we had a bad time at the practice where we had to stop work because of a very unfair, in my opinion, decision about us with a really stupid story with the patient. And that's where I felt a little down. Like, you're pushing, you're going really full throttle, and then somebody just knocks you out, and then you feel that hit, and then you're like, whoa, what happened? Why is it that it's not, what happened? Like, what? We haven't done anything wrong. So that's why I felt a little down. I felt like, what? I'm not interested so much in dentistry because I'm very passionate about my work. But at that time I was a little low. But I wasn't depressed. I was low. I was not enjoying dentistry as I used to because I was enjoying it 1,000%. And then it becomes to me like, okay, let's finish the day and then out. And after a while, when everything picked up, I think that was at the time of 2000, I would say, right before Corona. So
2020?
So 2020, 2019. 2019, I started to feel much better. So I think in the time where 2017, 18, I was a little low. But then 19, everything picked up, and 20, and Corona came, and we handled Corona very well, and it's just till today.
Man, like when you think about it, like sometimes the hits, as you mentioned it, like you were going full throttle and until something have happened and it punched you, then it put you down. But now you're telling me that you feel more appreciative for life, more content and so on. Like, do you think that hit back then, like, have played a role in you appreciating more the time that you are spending now at work and everything?
Yes. Of course, I agree. For me, dentistry is My job is there's a lot of fulfillment in my job. You know, a lot of people go to, maybe some people, I think if I want to guess, some people go to work. Sammy, Baba, baby. I think some people go to work on a daily basis and it feel it's just a job.
صح, true.
You know, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging anybody. But for me, dentistry is not just a job. It's a job that I really like. I enjoy. Now, there is for me here, you know, let's put it this way. A lot of people say, oh, you have to love your job. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you have to be a pro in your job. Being a pro in your job doesn't mean that you love your job. That means you are a pro. Like for instance, let's say, you know, like if you talk to Mike Tyson, for instance, you know, he is one of the best boxers of all time, right? But I'm pretty sure that there were times in his life where he was not enjoying boxing. That for him, boxing was not just a love, passion. Maybe for him, fishing is a passion. So your hobby is your passion a lot of times. Like for instance, for me, I'm a prosthodontist. I love my job. I like it. I enjoy it. There is a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment in it. But I also love my hobby. I'm very passionate about my hobby. So now this is the difference between, you could be very passionate about your hobby, very passionate. You love it. You know all about it. You know all about the people. Like for instance, in my terms, I love weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. So I know all the champions, all the years. I know what they've done. I know the equipment. I know the movements. I know many things. And I'm very passionate about it, and I can talk about it for a long time. You know, so you're passionate about it. You love it. Now, when it comes to the job, it's the thing that you live off. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to love it, but you have to be a pro at it.
You have to be a pro at it.
You have to be a pro at it, meaning you have to be... A lot of times there should be no emotional attachment to it. And that's what makes a good... For instance, what makes a good, let's say, pilot. Imagine if a pilot, because he's emotional or he doesn't feel good, he tells you, you know what, today I'm not really in the mood of you know, or I'm not in the mood of flying today. You know, I'm just you know, I'm feeling a little down, and that's not a pro. The pro is, even if you feel down, even if you have a tough phone call, even if your dad is sick and you got a phone call that your son is suffering from XYZ, you still go to job and you're still a pro. And you still fly the plane and do a good job and land the proper landing and on time, and that means you're a pro.
You detach from the emotional aspect of life.
Yes, people pay money, big bucks for the pro, not necessarily for the emotional guy. So this is important here. I'm a pro at my job. I know how to handle it very, very, very well. Doesn't matter what my conditions are. I could be feeling super low and not really wanting to work that day, but I'm still a pro. I will still do my job perfectly. Or I could be feeling super happy and super just energetic, and I can do also the same good job.
Man, that's so fun, because like the other day I did a t-shirt and I wrote on it, like, when you feel good, you work out hard. When you feel bad, you work out harder.
Yeah,
which applies perfectly to what you're saying.
Now this is what a lot of the new guys talk about, motivation, and you don't really need motivation. Motivation is for the guys who are not really strong-willed. Let's put it this way.
Not resilient.
What you need is, you need persistence. You need discipline. You know, and that's what it is in job. That's what makes you great at your job, is that you're disciplined. You're disciplined in your time. You're disciplined in your manners. You're disciplined in your ethics. You're disciplined in your technique. You're disciplined. You will, no matter what, you will not budge. You're not going to go right or left or cut corners just because you don't like this person. No, you're still going to do it, and you're going to put your emotions aside and still be a pro. Now, this doesn't apply to your love. That's why a lot of people say you have to love your job, and you have to, if you love your job, then you don't work a day, and blah blah blah. I think these are all just talk. You know, this is just, you know, stuff that you share, memes and stuff that you
Seek validation.
yeah,
with.
cliches. But pro is a pro.
No matter what, on, off screen, whatever it is, like just wake up, go do the job. And
we both know, like, the story. There's Dmitry Klokov, I think, is a very famous weightlifter, very you know, Olympic champion, European champion, world champion, and he said that he only really enjoyed maybe handful of times of training.
that's so
Yeah, like that's where he really felt. But the rest are just hard work and discipline.
like nowadays when you look at it, like everyone is looking for the fastest route, like the magic pill, the how can we do this thing easily. Like, how did you get here? Like, I mean, because everyone says that they want to be a pro. Everyone says that, hey, we want to be the best at what we do, but none of the no one does the work.
That's true. So I'll speak from my perspective as a prosthodontist who works in Abu Dhabi. From my perspective, I started working as a prosthodontist in 2011. Until I really felt that all my investments in work, my everything I'm giving, paid off. I'll tell you when. I know exactly when it felt. It felt after 10 years. It took me 10 years to feel that I have really started to
have a return on my investment
and return proper. Like, I mean, what I mean by proper return, as a prosthodontist, you until Corona times. So for me, until 2020, 21, that's when I felt I really had proper return of investment of everything I put on as a prosthodontist. All my hard work and residency and before and after and hard work and hard work and hard work. It took about 10 years. And I think that's what the time is as a dentist. It takes you to have proper return of investment. It takes at least 10 years. And that's what a lot of these young generations, a lot of the young guys don't understand. They want within 2 or 3 years, you just graduated, and within 4 to 5 years. So I finished dentistry in 2006 and I residency in 2011. Work in 2011. Now it's 2024. Until it paid off, it took 10 years after residency. So from 2006, which is my dental school, until 2022, that's
16 years.
16 years. So including my residency time. So what I mean by return of investment, that means that patients come seek only you. Patients want your opinion. You have proper word of mouth. You have people that trust you, that believe in you, that seek your advice, that seek your consultation. And that whatever you say, if that's the plan, that's the plan. That's how it's going to go. There's no second guessing. There's no, let's go shop after this guy's talk. No. That took 10 years. And I really mean it. 10 years. I felt it. 2020, 2021. So for the young guys, the young guys want really the quick fix, and suddenly they want to graduate and they just want to make big bucks. After 4 to 5 years, it's not going to happen. You're either going to take a fast route. Now, social media helps, and all the means that we have help, of course, because at the time when I finished, there was no social media. Social media helps now, but also because there's a lot of paid ads, and there's a lot of it's not just very organic. That also could shoot you back in the foot. So there's a bubble that you create that might just rupture at any point. So that would help. That will probably minimize the 10 years to 7. But so, I think what I mean is you have to, like my mentor told me, you have to pay your dues. You have to pay your dues until you ask for what you ask, until you sit behind your desk and in a consultation, you are the master. That you have to pay your dues.
What do you think that the role of social media now is playing, like in reducing the time of that you have to spend to get to where you have got?
It's
Like,
a very
what tool? Like, I mean, what did it provide for us now? Social media.
expedite the process. Expedite it because now you can reach to people faster.
So is
But
it
it's
like?
a very tricky route. But yeah, for sure, it expedites the process. Yeah.
So do you think like having more audience would reduce the number of years where you have to spend to pay your dues, as you said it? Like, do you think it's a matter of being more exposed is what put you in the pro status that you are in right now, for example? Like, do you think a new graduate who have like more exposure than what you have right now would have got to that point? Do you think it's only a matter of exposure?
Of course not. No, it's just not just a matter of exposure. You need to back it up with proper knowledge and experience, and of course not. You need to have the fundamentals ready: your knowledge, your experience, which you build up over years, your skills. All of that is that's your base. Now, social media pushes and helps you to get to the final end faster. Cut.
It's okay.
Jad, Juju, please, Baba, please. If you want to go there, why don't you go to the end, please? Go to the end. Go to the end, please. Go there, please. Or if you want to stay here,
I think يمكن ما بيلقط صوت.
It's okay,
أنا
معلش،
موطي.
معلش.
Fine. Okay. Let's go
cut
back.
back.
All right. So we're talking about the social media aspect in pushing the new grads to being more exposed. Because like nowadays, when I look at it, like when I open social media, for example, in dentistry, I know nothing about dentistry, but and for example, if I didn't know you and I would go like, let's say, best dentist in UAE or whatever and so on, like they're gonna put up some tags
Of
for me,
course,
which
yeah.
I'm gonna follow, because for me, like I don't know what's best.
That's
So
true.
I'm gonna look to whoever has like, let's say, the highest followers, who does a good job or something good to display, and then I'm gonna follow that.
That's true.
So, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's a good doctor.
Well, as I say, dentistry is very tricky because at the end of the day, even if you follow that person, let's say you follow the guy with the biggest views, with the highest views, and you just decide, I'm going to go and get a dental treatment, and then you go see that person. There's a human element here. Okay? You're not just buying a product. And the product is not just a physical product. You're not just buying. You're not buying this because somebody really knew how to promote it. So you went to the market, to the store, and you bought it. With dentistry, there's a human element. You have to come at the end of the day, interact with the dentist, sit with him, hear him out, hear out the plan, feel him, feel how he's good or not. And there's that energy level. There's the art. There's the art of the consultation, the art of how you present yourself, and there's a lot of art here behind it, especially the first time you meet somebody. And that's what I always talk to people, that the first time, the first consultation, there's so much behind it. There's so much art and science and experience and things that will shape that first visit. It's either a go or a no-go. So even if you might see that person and you are really like wowed by his numbers, the guy has millions of people that follow him, you go and sit with him and you feel that this guy doesn't give you attention.
Very true.
And the guy doesn't really care. And if you feel that he's not really that confident, or if he, believe it or not, if he doesn't look good, if he doesn't smell good, if he's not really
Presentable.
if he's not presentable in many ways, like presentable is a very broad. But presentable could be the way he looks, the way he feels, the way the energy that you feel from him. If you feel like he's shady, if you feel like he's honest, if you feel like he's just trying to pull money from you, sell you something versus he really cares about the then you either will say yes, I'll go, or you say no, I'm out. And this is where dentistry is tricky, and this is where breaking that point, the tipping point, that's hard. And if it wasn't hard, a lot of people will just buy those numbers, and they will just be, incredible at they will make money just from
by
social
buying
media
the numbers. And
yeah. So now let's put it this way. Look at podcasts. Why is it that Joe Rogan is the number one podcast or the top 5, top 10 in the world? Because a lot of times when you listen to Joe Rogan, you feel a lot of things that you don't feel with other podcasts.
The genuinity, like
you feel genuinity, you feel that he knows how to ask questions, you feel that, and then you just listen and you feel that there's really not much of there's no script. There's no script.
There's no filtration, like in a sense.
Yeah, and he would tell you if he doesn't like it, you say, yeah, this is nonsense, or I'll say yes, I like, or and that's why maybe, of course, there's a lot of other elements. It was in the right time, and he used he was one of the early ones. But if he wasn't really that genuine, and if he wasn't really that good, he would not continue. Same thing in dentistry. There's a lot of guys who come and go, and there's a lot of guys who are amazing that don't have followers, and there's a lot of guys who have followers and also they've done so well. So it's very tricky, I think. Social media is very tricky.
Social media is very tricky. Like
also one more element in social media, that it's an ecosystem. Not an echo. It's an echo chamber. Let's put it this way. It's an echo chamber. So whatever you follow, whatever you like, social media feeds you. And especially now, let's say in the domain of nowadays, the hot topic is Palestine and Israel. If you're pro, your feed is full of pro stuff, and if you're anti, or if you're with the other party, your feed is full of the other. It's just an echo chamber. So that's also important. That social media will feed you whatever you like. Also,
like whatever you, even like to the extent to whatever you search, they start putting on, let's say, some suggestions based on if you're pro or against a certain topic.
Absolutely.
Like whatever, like when you search how to, for example, do such a thing, they were going to put some suggestions based on your history. Man, like why dentistry? Like why not some other profession?
For me, the story is very obvious. The story is I'm a dentist because my dad is a dentist. My mom is a dentist, and I grew up in a family with dentists. The house, when my dad and my mom started, the house was the same, was the office. So the waiting room was our living room. So I grew up hearing the sound of the handpiece and being always within the dental talk, and there was a lab also close by, which my dad used to have a lab that was in the same floor. It was literally a few steps away. So I would finish, let's say, and I would go spend time with the lab, with the technicians. And that's why maybe I'm attached to pros and to lab work and to anything that involves sculpting and handwork. So that's why I love dentistry, is because of that. So my dad programmed me indirectly to become but my sisters, none of them became a dentist, but just me. So it's just because maybe I was too influenced by it. Maybe because I'm the only son and I've got sisters, so maybe also because of that. So nobody knows.
Like, what is it about like parents and they always want to push their kids towards something which they like, for example?
I don't think all parents do that.
Mostly, mostly because
that's true.
And especially in our, let's say, part of the world, in this culture that we're in, like mostly, like when I hear my friends talk, for example, if one of my friend's father is an engineer, they always try to push them to be an engineer.
Trust me, this is not Middle Eastern. That's all over the place. That's just a human thing. Because if you think about it, your kids are an extension of you. So if they're an extension of you, you want them to continue the same business that you're in. And if you built a business, you want your partner to be your son. You want your son to continue that legacy, that business. You know. So I think it's human nature. Think about it this way: your friends you have common things with your friends, right? Your partner. When you choose your partner, when you choose your friends, you usually choose people who there's something in common. And those are your friends. Imagine if it's an extension of your family. If it's your son or your daughter, then you definitely, indirectly, whether you like it or not, you would like that person to follow the same route. In a better way, maybe, like to pave the route for him so it's easier for him. So maybe for him to, let's say in my case, would I want my kid to become a dentist? Indirectly, maybe yes. Maybe because I can make it easier for him.
Like you can save him time and give him the experience.
Exactly. I can.
Yeah.
So you want that for your kid. So now if one of them said, I don't want to be a dentist, then it's okay. Don't be a dentist. But deep inside you, I think you want that because that person is an extension of you. So it's just human nature. It has nothing to do with the culture. The culture will add to it, will make it even worse and push more towards it, or it will become neutral. But I think it's human nature at the end of the day.
Human nature, like somehow, like people are always trying to look to keep some legacy for them. Like when you look at it, like artists, musicians, whatever it is, like they always try to keep something for the future generation.
That's very stupid, though. Yeah. Like legacy of you, when you die, you die.
Yes.
If you listen to Ricky Gervais, his last special on Netflix, he talks about that. It's like, when I die, I don't care where my money's gonna go.
I love the guy.
I don't care where money's gonna go. Like, because I die. Like, who cares? Like, who cares? So, I mean, that's one part. But the fact that a lot of us now, this is in Middle Eastern
society.
In Middle Eastern culture, is you want that son so he can continue that legacy. What legacy? What legacy? When you're done, you're done. Legacy of what? After 100 years, nobody's going to know neither about you or about your son or about what you had. Do you even know your grandfather? You don't know him. You don't know anything about him.
Very true.
You barely know his name. So what legacy are we talking about? You're not a king, You're not a. You don't have a kingdom.
It's funny how we are so attached to like some ideas which we had like in the past, and until now, like people still do live by them. Like
there's a lot of primitive thoughts.
Yes,
absolutely true. There's a lot of primitive thoughts. We still didn't really mature in many ways. I agree with that 100%. Like. I don't know if it's wise to go into this debate now of whether it's religion or culture or traditions, but yeah, there's a lot of primitive thoughts. Yeah.
So, doctor, I need to know. Let me know, how did dentistry change from back then until the dentistry now?
Okay, so let me walk you through the history, but in a very fast, from the last maybe 100
or so years.
So dentistry went through phases, and dentistry also through paradigm shifts that really shifted how dentists think and how dentists plan their treatments. But if I will start, I will start maybe in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and that was the time where dentists were obsessed about occlusion. Occlusion means how the teeth come together, right? So the bite, how the teeth come together. And at that time, dentists were cults, were a group of dentists that there was a leader, and the leader was had thoughts and opinions that were not backed by any science, and he would have followers, and he would preach how proper occlusion and proper dentistry should be done. And they were very, 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 very adamant about it. To the extent that if you don't follow the cult, you're out. For instance, there was gnethology, there was the Peter Dawson school. Gnethology was by three guys, Stallard, McCollum, and Stewart. Peter Dawson by Peter Dawson نفسه بفلوريدا. These guys, gnethology, were in California, where USC, which is my school, USC. That was the hub of gnethology. Gnethology with a G. G is silent. G, gnethology. And gnathologists had a group of ideas that basically these should come together in certain ways, and they should disclude in certain ways. Canine guidance, very tight occlusion, very tight coupling of teeth, and so on. Many thoughts and opinions. And there was one major thing, which is that if you had something called the MIP, maximum intercuspation, the way your teeth come together, and something called centric relation. So the position of the condyle should be in an optimum position. And for these guys, for all the occlusionists at that time, if there was a displacement between the centric relation, which is where the condyle should be, and maximum intercuspation, which is where the teeth come together, if that was the tiniest displacement, which is sometimes 0.5 millimeter or 1 millimeter, which is very physiologic, very normal to have. But if that happens, then most patients will go through a full mouth rehabilitation, meaning full mouth of crowns. So you would go, and the dentist would go and grind all of your teeth, 28 teeth, to reprogram you. And they would use heavy instruments. So it was very instrumental. There was pantographs and fully adjustable articulators and those big machines that fit onto your head. And they would record where the kinematic hinge axis and so on. For all the dentists that hear me, they will understand what that is. But basically, they were so instrumental. And they were so good at what they're doing that they would put those patients in a perfect coinciding position of centric relation and maximum intercuspation. How the two positions, which are normal to be displaced, they would put them together so they coincide. And in order to do that, you would do 28 crowns PFM, porcelain fused to metal, which means you grind your teeth, at least 30% is gone. So imagine your teeth ground, all of them, 28 teeth ground into small pegs, and then having crowns on top. And all of dentists was into that. And they were really aggressive in their approaches. And at that time, if you didn't have teeth, you would have bridges. So if you didn't have teeth, there was no implants. You would have bridges, or you would have very intricate attachments and things that fit very intricate in the mouth with small little pieces that fit together, and it's like Lego, very small Lego. But the problem with bridges is that it's a very dependent system. If one tooth fails, the whole system fails. Which affected the way treatment planning went. So dentists were very aggressive, and in order to fix sometimes one tiny space that is open, you need to grind 2 teeth or 3 teeth or 4 teeth or 5 or even more. And that was a very aggressive behavior or approach. Until the time comes in the paradigm shift in dentistry. There was two. Hey. Cut again. Until the time, there was 2 paradigm shifts in dentistry. Number one is enamel etching, where dentists started to understand that you don't have to grind a tooth into a peg shape and put a cover on it. Instead, we can glue on the teeth. and that means less cutting. And that's called enamel etching. Enamel etching, I think, was in 1955, around that time. And then the next paradigm shift was dental implants. Now, dental implants has a funny story. And I'll tell you about it because you might be interested in this story.
Sure.
Dental implants was first introduced in Sweden,
Okay.
in Gothenburg, by one guy. His name was Brennemark. Now, Brennemark was not a dentist, and Brennemark was an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
So, this is the interesting part of dental implants. How did the orthopedic surgeon
Do such a thing?
Yes. And basically what he did was he got rabbits and he would attach into their tibias, into their shin, and he would attach cameras.
Okay.
And the cameras were in titanium chambers. So he would put the camera inside the titanium chamber and put it in the bone to see. Basically, he wanted, as an orthopedic surgeon, he wanted to see how the healing happens around the bone and the cardiovascular system in the bone and so on. And he would put those cameras, and after a few years, he would have to remove the cameras.
Okay.
Because those titanium chambers are expensive and there's cameras in them, so he had to remove them. And of course, he had to, get rid of the rabbit, kill the rabbit, and take the part of the tibia and dissect it, and then take the camera out and study the case. And reuse this camera and reuse the titanium chambers. But he realized that after a few months that the titanium chambers cannot be removed easily. Now that took time until he realized that maybe I can talk to a friend of mine. And that friend of mine was somebody called Adolf Lekholm. Now, Adolf Lekholm, or Lekholm, I don't know how it's said in Swedish. Lekholm was basically a surgeon, a dental surgeon. So he talked to Lekholm and he told him, listen, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is basically how the chambers are getting stuck to the bone. So maybe we can introduce this to patients who don't have teeth. And we can make screws and we can implant them in the jaw and put teeth on them, because these guys have dentures.
Okay.
Adolf Lekholm took the idea, and they basically, both of them did, they made screws made out of titanium. And it was very primitive, because they would take a rod, they would mill it into a screw, and all the implants were external hex at that point, called external hex, meaning the connection between the top part and the implant was something called external hex, meaning for all the dentists who know, the connection is external, not internal, not inside the screw, but external. And it was a hex. So they made the screws. The screws were of one size, 4 millimeters width by 10 millimeter height. And they would place 4 implants intermental foramina, so right in this area. And they would place 4 implants only in the mandible, only in the lower jaw. And they would have a set of teeth, 12 teeth on them. And those 12 teeth had a certain shape. They were made out of metal, and on top there was acrylic teeth. And they had a very strict criteria of how the job should be done. They're Swedish, they have very strict criteria. The implant should be done
This way.
6 months of healing, not anything less than 6 months. No x-rays on those 6 months, don't even touch the implants, nothing. They should be buried under. There's no ceramics touching the mucosa. Everything should be polished metal and so on. Anyways, very strict criteria. And it worked. And in the 60s, they started to do that on patients who didn't have teeth. And they would do it on the mandible. And they proved that dental implants work. And dental implants are successful. In the 80s, in 1983, they went and they wanted to introduce this to the US market, to the US universities. They went to certain universities and told them, listen, we have this 1, 2, 3, 4 implants, and we want to introduce it to them. And they did it in Canada, in Toronto. It's called the Toronto Conference or Toronto Meeting in 1983. And the guy named was George Zarb, who introduced this system. A lot of universities thought that this is hocus pocus. The guys who do dentures, the guys who...
The old school guys.
Yes,
the guys with the old
this
methods.
is hocus pocus. This is nonsense. This is just not going to work. And from the US and from Canada, many didn't show up, and few universities showed up. And they believed in this project, and that's where it started to spread in the US. And then universities started to do more and more, more and more of this treatment, which is root-shaped implants, until it became the main treatment modality, the main treatment option for patients who don't have teeth or for missing teeth. Now, dental implants and enamel etching are two main paradigm shifts in dentistry. Main two paradigm shifts. Those are the ones who shaped dentistry into how we are now. After this period, dentists started to treat implant differently. They don't do bridges anymore. They don't cut teeth for bridges. They would rather do implants instead and keep the teeth. If you have a bridge, if you have a missing tooth, you don't cut the teeth beside it. You would rather do an implant and keep the teeth. So it's no longer a dependent system. It became an independent system, which is great. So it's more conservative, and the planning was different. And then enamel etching came also, and instead of doing crowns, instead of cutting the tooth 360, now we can do bonding, we can veneer, you can put a veneering layer on top of the tooth and do a veneer on top. Instead of cutting the tooth all around and remove so much of the tooth, which is around 30%, we only should remove maybe 5%, 7% to 10% at max. So now we became more conservative. And now that's where the shift started to happen after the 80s. And we started to move away from occlusion, move away from all these cults, and believe that this is nonsense, that the fact that there is a displacement between CR and MIP is normal. And more research showed that more than 90% of patients have this displacement between CR and MIP. That's normal. That's how you are as a human. And that doesn't mean that you have bad occlusion. There's no bad occlusion. It's just the way you are, and it could be the way you bite could be not ideal by book standards, but you can still be functioning well and live all your life without the teeth the way they are. You know? And of course, now the dentist started to be more aesthetically driven. Instead of occlusion driven, they became more aesthetically driven. And they started to do more and more aesthetic treatments. Now, before we used to cut teeth unnecessarily for occlusion. Now we are cutting teeth unnecessarily
for aesthetic reasons.
for aesthetics.
So you guys used to cut before, and now still recutting, but for different reasons.
Or for cosmetics. Let's put it in another way. So before it was for function, and now it's for aesthetics. And now we cut more and more teeth because now more and more, especially after COVID, and people are more and more aware of how they look on the camera, and the smiles and the white teeth and social media, and people are getting more and more aware of how they want to look like, and they want to have that perfect looking white teeth. And that's why patients tend to do more, and dentists tend to do more and more unnecessary cosmetic treatments in many cases. In some cases, of course, it's necessary. So that's basically the journey of how it was. And now, even we went a step further into what we call smile designing. And now dentists are even more obsessed with when you smile, your teeth should be placed in the smile in a certain way. And if you don't fit that template, then we should do more treatment. So now we're even taking it further into unnecessary treatments in many ways and convincing patients that when we take a photo, when you smile, when you put it when I put the template of how the teeth should be perfect,
This is how it should look.
that this is how your teeth should be placed on this template. Therefore, you need ortho, you need Invisalign, you need veneers, you need X, you need Y, you need W, which many of them could be unnecessary. Could be, of course.
Do you think that we're shifting like more and more towards aesthetic treatments and being pushed away from functionality? Because like
I wouldn't say pushed away from function, but yes, of course, we are more and more doing unnecessary aesthetic or cosmetic treatment for sure. Absolutely, for sure. I mean, there's also a major element here, which is there's more and more dentists in the world now. There's oversaturation of dentists in some countries. I'll give you an example. In Iraq, okay, in the 60s and the 70s, there was only 4 universities. Now there's over 70 universities.
And they all offer also dental.
And all of them teach dentists. Those 4 universities used to graduate 500, 600 dentists, 500 dentists, let's say, 600 dentists.
Now multiply that by the...
Now they graduate thousands. So imagine how much. In Saudi is the same thing. There was only maybe 3 universities. Now there's over 20 universities. And everyone is graduating more and more dentists. And it became a business, unfortunately, in many, many places. So more and more dentists, meaning more and more demand for treatment, because those dentists want to produce. And the fact that there are tools that are helping you, which are veneers and smile designs and templates and therefore you do more and more treatments, and patients are more and more wanting to look certain ways. So now you see there's an influx of work that is being done that is not necessarily
the most optimal in a sense.
I wouldn't say optimal, but that is not necessarily needed. And I'll give you a little story from both of my mentors, Winston Chi and Terry Donovan. Winston Chi and Terry Donovan wrote an editorial in a journal of aesthetic dentistry, I believe. I'm not sure, or prosthetic dentistry. I'm not sure about the name. But they wrote an editorial in a journal a few years ago. And that was at least 20 years ago, I would say. And the editorial was called the Enamel Preservation Fee. The enamel preservation fee. For many people, maybe they don't know what the enamel preservation fee is. But the idea of the editorial was just a teaser. It was just to make you think. And the idea behind the editorial is this. Dentistry is a procedure-based fee or fee for service or procedure-based profession. So the more I do, the more I charge, right? So you come to me, I take a photo, I show you this is how your teeth should look like on the template. And you require Invisalign treatment, you require some veneers, you require me to open the bite, maybe to do some onlays, and you require, let's say, 20 different procedures. I will charge you an X amount because there's a lot of procedures, let's say 20 procedures. Or 20 different teeth that should be drilled or cut or added.
Should be
worked on. Now, because of that, I charge a certain amount. And let's say you go to the next person and you say, you know what, I want to do my teeth. And you're like, I think your teeth are fine. You just need to do maybe some bleaching, some whitening. Maybe, your teeth are really nice. And I try to tell you that you really don't need anything. Maybe whiten your teeth a bit. Or maybe let's add a little bit of composites on some of the edges, which are a little short. And that's all you need. Now, because I only did 2 procedures instead of 20, I will charge you much less. But who out of these 2 prolonged your teeth? Who?
In my opinion, the less procedures,
The
the
second
second one.
person. So the less dentistry or the best dentistry. Meaning the second guy prolonged your teeth more. So why won't the second guy ask for an enamel preservation fee? Why wouldn't I ask for, I preserved your enamel for the fact that you're not going to do veneers. I'm prolonging your teeth for another 30 years, maybe.
So why wouldn't I be, let's say, charged
Yeah.
the same
Now, the
amount?
problem is that, let's say, especially here in the UAE, we are insurance based. Insurance works this way. The more you bill, the more procedures you do, the more you bill. It's a faulty system. There's no billing for preservation. There's no billing for prevention. Preventative dentistry is not important in insurance. It's the more you do, the more you bill. That creates two things. That creates humans, dentists, which are greedy
Yeah.
and maybe ignorant.
And maybe
Because they're
more
not
aggressive in the treatment.
aggressive. Now, when you have an ignorant person who doesn't know the impact, and you have a greedy person who's influenced by market, by insurance, by procedures, who just wants to make more money, you're creating a monster who just cuts teeth for no reason and tells you, "Oh, this is atraumatic. I'm just adding veneers. It's prepless." But it's not prepless. I'm adding a layer. I'm adding an interface. I'm actually harming your teeth.
Why?
So I always have to tell patients, I'm cutting part of your teeth. You have to understand that. And this part is not going to come back. It's not that I don't do veneers. Of course I do veneers. But I always tell patients, listen, I'm removing one part that is not going to come back. It's not reversible. And you're going to lose part of your teeth that is not going to come back for the rest of your life. Done. And I'm cutting the hardest part of your body, harder than bone. So up to you. And many times I say, you know what, I don't think it's worth it because you're young. No, this is where the planning is. If you're 25, I would be very cautious about touching your teeth, especially if they're in good condition. Just because you want to have an ideal and your teeth should fit at the template, but that doesn't mean I want to do it. But if you're 60, it's different. Age is important here. If you're 60 and maybe you want to look good, how long are you going to live? Till 80? Well, at least I can guarantee that this treatment is going to last 20 years or 15 years. But if you're 20 or 25,
you still have a lot of time in front.
How many times are you going to redo this work? Even if it's perfectly done. It's going to last 20, that's 40. Now when you're 40, you're going to redo it again. And when you redo it, it's definitely going to be worse than the first time. So, and then it's a downhill. And like they call it the moment I do dentistry, your tooth entered the cycle of death. The moment, believe it or not, unfortunately, the less dentistry is the least amount of dentistry.
Why does the adding a layer affects the teeth in a bad way? Like why?
Because you're adding an interface. So which is better? If your teeth are the way they are, there's no interface. So meaning it's a flat surface. The moment I add an interface, the moment I add a structure on it, I created an interface.
And how does that affect?
Now, is that interface, can you clean it? It's impossible to clean it.
Yeah.
And with that interface, there's a connection, there's the margin, and there could be leakage. So basically, you're creating an interface with a margin that is highly susceptible now for failure. So which is better in an ideal world? Nothing or having an interface? Definitely nothing, for sure. As long as the nothing is healthy. If the nothing, if there's caries, if there is issues, if there is destruction, it's a whole other story. But if there's good teeth, if there's good enamel, if the teeth are sound, the moment you add, and this is just from a very hypothetical perspective, I'm playing devil's advocate here. If you add a layer, you're just asking for trouble.
Now, like, as you being a doctor and discussing about the business aspect of it. Like, where is the threshold where you can say that, okay, for example, educating the clients or the customers more and more about how it is not necessary, let's say, to do the grinding, to do the veneers, and so on. Where does it stop to be useful from the business side of view? Like, because you're a business owner and you're a doctor at the same time. Like,
It's very hard. I know what you mean.
yeah, because
So
like,
it's basically the drawing the line between healthcare provider and a businessman. Very tough. No, I'm glad I'm a prosthodontist. I'm glad that most of the patients I see are redoing other people's work. I barely see patients who come with virgin teeth. I barely see patients who come with sound teeth that need just cosmetic treatments. I barely see those patients. Barely. Maybe none, almost. Most of what I see is either bad dentistry, iatrogenic dentistry, faulty dentistry, problems, diseases, caries, periodontal diseases, gum diseases that I have to fix. So, and not, my fix is always, I try to be as conservative as I can. Usually that's me. I try to be as conservative as possible. But maybe that's my luck. Maybe the way we built the practice, maybe it's because I'm a prosthodontist. But I know a lot of guys see a different pool of patients, which are the younger ones, the ones who seek only cosmetic treatments. And I know that's tough because now you're to draw the line between a healthcare provider and a business person who wants to make money also and live, especially that there's so many dentists now. And there is a demand also for this cosmetic treatment. I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard. But it's a cycle that we also influenced patients by always telling to them that, you should look better. Veneers can be done without prepping, zero prepping, prepless. We influenced also the market in a way. Dentists had an influence, major influence, since the start of luminaires, which are in basically shaping.
It's okay. Fine.
And basically shaping how the regular normal people want to look like. So listen, I'm not trying to blame anybody here, but at the same time, prevention and the fact that it's just this editorial of the enamel preservation fee is just for you to think that what we do is prone to failure. This is very important. Any dentistry is doomed for failure. Any dentistry. And this is very important, the way you look at it. If you look at it, that my dentistry is prone to failure, you will think differently. But if you think about it, this is for life. Especially nowadays, on social media, I would see a lot of ads that give lifetime guarantees. Lifetime guarantees. That is unethical. That's a lie. And that is not reality.
That's false hope. Like, no, it doesn't happen.
Absolutely true. Like, I mean, come on, a Ferrari. If you buy a Ferrari, if you buy a Maybach, if you buy a Ferrari, if you buy a Maybach, if you buy a Porsche, if you buy really the best car in the world,
the best forever.
and if the dealer tells you the car is for life, which they don't, they give you 5-year warranty.
Yes.
At max, and you have to pay extra if you want to go extended warranty. We're giving lifetime warranties for cheaper prices.
Yeah.
How? There is marketing gimmicks. There is luring patients. So luring patients into treatments just because you give false hope, as you said, or you give unethical promises. No, that is wrong. That's where you're lying.
now, because currently, I'm thinking about it, it gets to a point where, because of how the market is operating now, because of how people are influenced now, and it gets to a point where you're like, is it because I don't know, I have an idea in my mind. Back then, people used to go to a dentist, and because they had a certain thing in mind. For example, something is not working and I just want to make it better and then treat it and move on. Nowadays, dentistry is becoming a totally different side of the equation. It's becoming more of an aesthetic treatment rather than to fix an issue.
Yeah.
So, how can we educate the society? How can I, for example, for someone who doesn't have a background, how can I tell them that this is what it should be? And the problem is the community that we're in, as you said, it doesn't support the preventative treatment. It doesn't support. It doesn't reward that.
No.
So it becomes to a point where dentistry becomes unrewarding. You are in a position where I either have to go with the flow of the market and be greedy and be aggressive, or I can, let's say,
Or I suffer financially.
I suffer financially.
Yeah. I understand that very well. And this is this problem and the cycle that we created. We're producing more dentists. There's absolutely no studying and no clue of how many dentists should be around. There's oversaturation of dentists. The demand is very increasing because the cosmetic treatment is being promoted as cheap, as if I'm always promoting for you treatment that is so cheap and is so overly rated that, or underly rated, let's put it this way, it's all over news, it's all over your phone, it's cheap, get your smile and done in $1,000 bucks, $1,000 worth, lifetime guarantees.
It loses value.
Then the demand becomes higher.
Yeah.
Because you're telling patients, come in. That's easy. It's easy. There's so many dentists. And now the demand is increasing. And then what happens, these guys are doing those treatments. And then the patients are going and they're very unhappy. And then they go back and then they start looking for other treatments. And then they go to the next person. The person says no good, and then charge higher. And then becomes a cycle. The cycle is, unfortunately, now we reach the time where the cycle is we're in that cycle now. And thousands and millions of teeth are being done faulty, which all of them need to be changed because they're faulty work, because it's cheap, because there's overproduction of dentists, and because the social media is also helping reach more and more people that come. It's easy done, quick, it's fast, it's easy, it's cheap.
They sell them a false hope somehow.
Yeah, so now we're in that cycle. Unfortunately, it's too late now. So as a prosthodontist, I'm living a good life because all I do is fix those mess ups. So I'm okay with that. I'm fixing those mess ups. That's all I do is fixing. All I do is fixing
the issues,
fixing the mess ups. So I'm okay with it. Of course, I understand that but I feel bad for the younger generation. I feel bad for the dentists who are just graduating now, who has to make that decision, as you say, either
suffer financially,
because you have to do
X, Y, and
proper healthcare provider, like you were taught, conservative, fix teeth instead of ruining teeth, or you become just another dentist who just does those cases for cheaper and faster and more turnover and blah blah blah. It's tough, and I think now we're too late. So, but unfortunately, this is why Specialty is important. This is why more knowledge is important. If you cannot specialize, then at least attend courses, at least listen to people who are better. My advice is always look for good people who can at least teach you, at least tell you what's good. If you can't specialize, a lot of people cannot specialize, cannot leave work for 3 years and specialize. It's costly, it's leaving work, it's not easy. I understand that. And also find a mentor, find a good mentor. Mentor is important. Somebody who just tell you what's good and what's bad. He'll just, because a lot of times when you're young, you really don't know. You have no clue. You have no clue what to do. Find a good mentor that will just tell you,
Guide you in a way.
guide you where to go, what to do. Because unfortunately now it's just too overwhelming for. I mean, I imagine myself graduating now. Oh my
It's super tough.
God! At least when I graduated, there was absolutely no social media, so you're not overwhelmed. All you see is those few people around you that they do stuff, and you have to just pick and choose. Now you have access to thousands of people.
Yeah.
Some are sharing decent information, some are sharing wrong information, some are sharing misleading information, and you just have to, and you're overwhelmed because you have it in your palm of your hands every day on your feed.
And for you as a consumer, you don't even know the difference. Like for you as a dentist, you can differentiate, for example, good, bad, okay,
Misleading, yeah.
For others, like for them, everything is good as long as it looks good.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. So
That is true.
dental implants, you mentioned that back then it used to take like 6 months of healing, and that was like the setup point. Like, did it change over time? Like, did the
For sure.
yeah? Let's talk a little bit about implant and how did it, let's say, change in a sense.
So dental implants were very, at the time where Brannemark started the protocol, it was very conservative, very Swedish conservative, very strict. And then slowly we started to push the envelope. Slowly we started to say, you know what, why do we wait 6 months? Let's wait 4. Why do we wait 4? Let's wait 3. Why do we wait 3? Let's wait 2. Why 2? We started to change the shape of the screw. We started to play around with the surface of the screw. The surface was, at the time of Brannemark, it was just acid etched. Because when they mill the titanium bars, the rods, they would dip them in acid to clean them from the oil. And that dipping in acid was enough to clean it, disinfect it, and it's ready to go in the mouth. So the fact that it was etched helped in the integration better with the bone. That was done by mistake, let's put it this way. Or not by mistake, by unintentional.
Coincidence. That's it.
Yes, unintentional. Now we are more and more understanding how the surface maybe wants to be a little bit more aggressive, want to add this and that, plasma, etching it in certain ways, blasting it with certain materials. And we started to shape the surface. We started to shape the topography instead of having 1 thread, 2 threads, more aggressive threads, self-tapping, non-self-tapping, all these things. The connection was external hex. We started to understand that external hex has goods and bads. Let's introduce internal hex. Let's introduce more and more tapering of the walls, more staples, cold welding. We started to play around with topography of the implant. We started to push the envelope until we reach the point where we extract diseased teeth. We place implants in diseased sites after we clean them up. We place it and we load it right away. We put a tooth on top at the same day. So imagine where we have pushed the envelope from waiting 6 months, placing implants in healed sites, all the way to pushing the envelope to placing implants in diseased sites and loading them right away. And still having the same degree of success. Still. So this is why I believe that dental implants have changed big time, from the 60s or the 80s till today. Let's put it this way. it has changed in the way we understand how it works. And we started to utilize many things. But now, if you look at the original design,
It's the same.
the original design is still perfect, it's still good, perfectly well. But the conditions around, we started to play around with. We pushed the envelope. In terms of placing implants in healed sites, we go to really diseased sites and do and push and push and push and push until where we are now, where we can do many cool things with implants and basically give treatments that are faster, more aesthetically pleasing rather than before. Before it wasn't so aesthetic. It was functional, but it wasn't so aesthetic. Now with dental implants, we can give really aesthetic treatments.
Aesthetic and more functional.
Aesthetic, of course, and more functional. Yeah. So that's where dental implants are.
Now, you mentioned something about the immediate loading, and from what I understood is that after you put in the screw in the gum, let's say, or in the bone, it should take like a period of whatever months for it to heal. Then we can, let's say, put the teeth on top of it. So, like, what changed? Like, how can we do it now immediately on the same day? Like, don't we need some time to heal? Like, is it always feasible to do this or not? Like, is it feasible always to do it with everyone or not? The loading of the teeth in the same day after the implant. Like, what conditions should you as a doctor evaluate to make sure that this is going to work or not work to load the teeth and the implants on the same day?
There's so many factors. It's very... you have to look at it from a very holistic approach. There's so many factors here. But the default is that we can actually, if we get the screw placed in bone with a certain amount of stability or torque, then you can load it. Now, the difference here is the planning. Why would I need to load a back tooth where it doesn't show and the person didn't have a tooth for the last 30 years?
Why now? Like, do we need
Now what to do it now? Just wait. Why to add more procedures, more cost? Why? A front tooth. Somebody who has a high smile line, had a fracture, had a trauma, where we can place the implant right away and load it. That's a great benefit. Because at least I can let you go home with a tooth that looks good and within an hour or two. So the planning is different now. The way that's where you as a dentist should know how to plan. But the idea is that any implant can be loaded unless if the circumstances and the conditions are fulfilled. Stability, enough bone, the bite is decent, it's not really too aggressive or too heavy. If there are more than one implant, if you can join more than one implants, even better, because you can distribute the force. The more implants are placed, the more you can distribute the force, meaning more stable structure versus one, where it's very, it's one versus two that are joined, three that are joined, four that are joined, six that are joined, even better. That's it. That's in a nutshell.
So that's you as a doctor and as Anas, like back then and now as a doctor. Like, where do you see yourself going later on in the future? Do you have any plans for the future? Like, what do you have for the future as Anas?
As I said,
did you think about it?
Of course, yeah. Of course, I think about it. I think about it all the time. Well, it's different when you have kids. Things are different. The way you think is different because now you have to think of them. You have to think of their future. So you have to at least make sure that they have a decent future. So I'm more and more interested in. For me, I don't want to be a dentist for all my life. I mean, I love being a dentist, but at a certain point, I wish when I hit maybe 50, I just want to stop being a dentist.
What do you have?
Or not really do dentistry. If, I would rather just, if I can step away and just enjoy dentistry just from a different perspective. Maybe the teaching part, because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy giving more and more education to younger generations. So I enjoy doing that. So that's where maybe I believe when I finish, when I stop, slowly taper out, I'll do more and more and more education. And more and more, to be honest, I more would rather invest my money into not into non-dentistry domains, just so I can have a passive income and I can live a happy life. I'd rather live a happy, decent life, but not kill myself with overdoing dentistry. Because dentistry, yeah, overworking. Because at the end of the day, dentistry is very taxing on your body too. Every dentist I know in the world
has a back problem or a neck problem.
Has a problem. Every dentist every dental technician in the world has a problem in his back, in his neck, in his shoulders, in his even thigh legs, because it radiates. And for me, I was one of them. I remember when I was doing residency in LA, I would suffer. I would sit down and I'm working and I'm suffering. Pain would radiate to my left shoulder. And I would work 16 hours a day, because when I was in residency, I would work and I suffer with pain. And it wasn't enjoyable. It was annoying. But you're young, you can push.
I can push through it. It doesn't matter.
Yes, but that's no good. And you would massage. You would get a massage. You would do some stretching. You'd swim. You would play a little bit of sports. It gets a little bit better. And then the moment you sit,
you hit back on again.
Yeah. Until I really started to do more and more Olympic weightlifting. That's where it disappeared. And that's where I believe a lot of patients say, you have to wear those loops, stand on a microscope, invest in a microscope just for your back. It's ergonomic. That's nonsense. Invest in your body. Instead of investing in instruments, invest in this body. Invest in this. Don't invest in a microscope.
Don't invest in a tool for you.
Don't invest in a tool. Don't invest in an instrument when your body is wrecked. Invest in it. In your body, make it stronger, and work in the most important part, which is from your neck to your legs, from the back. So, and work on your back, work on your neck, work on your glutes, work on your legs. Ever since I started Olympic weightlifting, zero pain. When I do dentistry, I don't have pain. I don't suffer from the pain that dentists have. Even if I overwork myself, I can work. I can work. I can do procedures that many dentists cannot do in a day. They need 3 days to do it, but I can do it in a day, and I would not suffer from pain. Neither in my neck, nor my shoulders, nor my back, or my legs at all. And I would push. And if you look at me when I work, I do not sit in a
good position.
My shoulder, I don't really stand upright. I'm just
going around
bent. I'm bent this way and that way in very awkward positions, but I don't have pain because the body is strong, can withstand those lousy positions. But if the body is weak, you'll need those stupid tools. But you know what?
To fix the.
But after a while, you feel it. Even though you're standing this way, but your body is weak, you'll feel pain. You'll definitely feel pain, but in a different way, or maybe it takes a little longer, but it will hit you. And then the problem is that it will hit you in a bad way. A lot of dentists have disc issues. A lot of dentists have herniated vertebrae. A lot of dentists have pain that is almost irreversible now. Almost irreversible. So, and they're all like in the 30s, 31, 32, 33, you're suffering from herniated disc.
Man, because when you look at it, everywhere you look, people always try to fix the symptom and not the root cause of the problem. Absolutely. They're like, okay, if you have this, go take this pill. If you have this, go fix that. But they don't care about
go buy this, go buy that, go do this, but not really work on
the root cause of the issue.
This is where I believe my my change in the way I think. And you know what? Believe it or not, Olympic weightlifting had a major change in the way I see things. Also,
How so?
because Olympic weightlifting is an explosive sport. Is a very strange sport. It's a sport that you should be strong, explosive, like a gun, strong like a bull, but still flexible, like a ballerina. You know,
Yeah.
which doesn't make sense because when you're strong,
You're gonna compromise mobility.
you're not
and
flexible.
flexibility. Yeah.
When you're really stiff, you're not mobile. But it basically joins these two together, and you should be too, because you can't really have a 140 kilos above your head without or on your back without being flexible.
Yes.
Because then you can't really go all the way down. You can't squat it all the way down when it's in the back or on your shoulders. When you don't have flexibility in your ankles, in your knees, in your hips, in your shoulders, even in your wrist,
Oh, very true. Yeah.
and in your elbows, and all of this is being, and that's why it's tough on your body when you get to those limits. But also it's very rewarding because it helped me because it's a sport where you have to make decisions right away. Lower it down, lower.
Yeah.
So it's a sport where you have to make decisions right away. Meaning, it's not a long run where you can meditate and run for an hour. It's a sport where you have to make a decision right away. So you have one rep. You either do it or no. And if you think about it, this is what my work is. Is to either you do it or no. You make a decision or you do this or do that. Boom. And you move on. So I felt it relates to me for some reason. I felt it relates to my profession, to my even personality, to where I am in a position where I'm a leader in my job, where I have to
Make decisions.
and the decisions should be executive decisions. They should be firm, and they should be explosive, and they should be right away. So I felt it relates to it.
Transmits with you as
Yes.
Anas. It transmitted with you. Yeah.
That's where I felt it actually added to my confidence, added to my decision making, added to my routine in life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Plus, of course, the good things that did in my body, and that's where I believe weightlifting connected. You know,
It's like part of the puzzle of who you are.
Yes.
Completed part of the Lego.
Yes. It's not just if you're doing, let's say, if you're a swimmer, that not necessarily relates to where you are now. If I'm a swimmer now, or if I'm a football player, or if I'm a CrossFitter, it doesn't really relate because that's nothing to do with that. But here, you go and you have that weight, and that weight is so heavy, and you have to just
Do it.
you have to do it, and you have to put emotions aside. There's no emotions. There's no I feel it's heavy.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's like when you go to work and you are not really into it, but you have a really important patient and you have a really tough thing that you have to deliver or you have to do. Put emotions aside and just go through it. That's where I felt it relates, and it added to many things in my life. Even the way I talk to my kids, the way my kids behave with me, the way I behave with the kids, the way I want them to be stronger, the way it shaped me in a very positive way, I believe. That's how I believe it.
It shaped you as a father. It shaped you as a professional. It shaped you as Anas. Like it's part of who.
This is why I liked this particular sport, and this is why it connected to me. Where a lot of people say, "Why would you want to do Olympic weightlifting? What's so?" People think, and at the end of the day, any person who doesn't know would think that Olympic weightlifting is a barbaric sport. Is all about like, and they don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that Olympic weightlifting, there is a lot of art in it. There's a lot of it's all about angles and technique and timing and explosivity. Again, it relates to everything I do. I like technicalities. I'm more into details. And Olympic weightlifting is all about details. Yet maintaining the strength. Yet maintaining the macho,
The originality, let's say, the structure, maintain it.
yes.
Yeah.
So all of this is maintained, but still there's art in it. It's not barbaric. It's not just it's not just. It's not a.
It's not random in a sense. Like it's not like some random act which people just do. Like
And it's
it
pretty
has
cool
structure.
because it's an underground sport.
Yeah.
It's a sport where very few understand it, and the ones who understand it really respect it. The ones who don't understand it, they will look at you and say, "This is." And when you do the movement, the ones who don't understand, they respect it,
Yes.
but they don't understand what you're doing. You know, and that's pretty cool by itself. That's actually a cool thing of weightlifting.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like what comes around it. Like
yeah. It's just the aura, the way it looks, the explosivity,
the performance of it, like and
the
what
performance, yeah,
the
and
whole
that-
package.
Yes, and at the end of the day, it's a very it's performance. You're performing on a platform. You're by yourself. Everybody's watching, and it's only one. It's a solo sport. So there's a lot of ego in it, but you have to also control that ego, because if you let that ego
Overcome you.
overtake, then you will lose many things. So this is where it becomes very philosophical. If you want to speak about it from a very philosophical perspective, it's not like bodybuilding where you're watching yourself in a mirror and it's vain. It's not a vain sport. It's not vain. You're not looking and you want to shape your body.
Yes.
No, it's not. There's no mirrors in weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. But it's performance. Is you want to perform, and it's one time and you're out. So philosophically speaking, it's pretty cool. When you think about it now, like this, I'm thinking about it. I'm actually pretty.
Excited now. Like, yalla, let's go lifting, yalla. After this, we're going.
Yes.
Man, like I really can't thank you enough for coming in today for the episode.
My pleasure.
And I really appreciate your time and everything that you spoke about. And I hope maybe later in the future, maybe I can do another episode with you, because like I think there's a lot of things which I can talk to you about.
So tell me, Hannah, how does this work? Tell me about. Is this going to be? You said, is this going to be the second episode? The
No,
third?
you're going to be the first episode.
Oh, I'm going to be the first.
You are going to be the
I'm gonna
first.
be the first episode.
You are the first episode and the last one which I filmed. You are the first. I'm going to air
So-
on the 1st of January. And you're going to be the first. And I'm going to link you to it, of course. Yeah, sure. It's going to be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and on my website. So these four directories.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best, and
Thank you very much.
looking forward to seeing this. And I hope everybody liked the little things that we talked about in dentistry, maybe a little bit of life.
Yeah.
And I
Because
wish you all
it's
the best.
like the podcast, the idea behind it is not like only to be very technical and go in details about the professionality of the guests, but like I want them to express stories from their life, because I think like behind every person there's a story, and someone
course.
out there might be able to learn something about it. Because life is not only about work. Like
Of course not.
work is just a part of it, and
Absolutely true.
in the end, we are just stories, and yeah, that's it.
Collection of stories,
stories.
experiences, good things, bad things.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super. Thank you very much.
See-
Thank you. Thank you. See you.